happy today because we are going to have a very sweet conversation, both in a literal and metaphorical way. And I'm very happy to welcome Lora Reman with us today, who is in charge of art and culture, press and social media of the Museum of Chocolate. So we are traveling to London and in particular to Brixton. And Lora, welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having us. It's an honor to be on your broadcast.
Thank you. So let me ask you first about the inspiration for the creation of the museum. How did that all start?
Well, I have to talk on behalf of Isabel, who is the owner and the founder of the museum. She's a French artisan chocolate maker or chocolatier, and well, she actually started with her passion for chocolate later in life, in her 40s, when she started making chocolate bars with very unique flavor combinations that she sold on food markets. And then in 2008 she opened her own business called Mélange Chocolate in Peckham in London. But she always wanted to keep it a small business because she was concerned with the quality loss if she would expand her business, because then you have to delegate like the making process to other people, and she's very in control of her own production. But she's very driven, and she has an immense passion for chocolate that she obviously wants to share with the world. So then, inspired by her chocolate supplier, Belcolade, who's a Belgian chocolate supplier, he has several museums in Bruges, in Mexico, in Paris about chocolate. So she thought London needs a chocolate museum too, and that's how she got the idea to also open a museum.
A welcoming place, maybe, London could be for. So, can you tell me what about the steps of chocolate making? What are the steps?
Well, the steps of chocolate making from the beginning are you have to work with cocoa beans, obviously. Cocoa beans grow on trees, in cocoa pots, as you see behind me. So cocoa beans need to first be fermented. Well, after harvesting, they need to be fermented. A lot of people don't know that, but that's where a lot of the flavor already is created. It's like fermenting grapes for wine. So they need to be fermented, then they need to be dried, then they need to be, usually they're exported before that, before they're ground, roasted, ground into paste. Then they need to be conched, then they need to be tempered, and then you have chocolate. So there's a lot of steps to chocolate making that a lot of people don't know about.
Exactly. It sounds simple, but I suppose it's not. So there are many steps to be taken in order the final result that we as consumers see.
Yeah, and what's really important that a lot of people don't know that the first steps that are taking place on the farm, on the cocoa farm, so in the countries where the cocoa beans grow, like fermentation, are so important to flavor. So part of the whole process is in the country of origin, and a lot of people don't know about that. They think all chocolate is made in Europe, and it just depends on how good the chocolate maker or factory is, what the end result will be.
Exactly. So let me ask you something else. Who were the first people who brought chocolate to England? I'm very curious about it, so that's why I'm asking you.
Well, the people responsible for bringing chocolate to Europe are the Spanish, because they're the first. Well, they're the ones that we can't really be sure about the first ones, but they're the ones that first colonized Latin America, South America, and in Central America, what we now call Mexico, Guatemala, they encountered the Aztecs, who had a habit of chocolate drinking that they took on from the Mayans and before the Olmecs. So it was a very old, ancient custom in Central America to drink chocolate drinks, which were very different from the drinks that we drink now. So they were ground cocoa beans with water and spices. And so the Spanish brought chocolate to Europe in the 17th century. And then with the addition of milk and sugar, it changed into the sweet chocolate drink that we know in Europe. Although for a long time the chocolate drink was still made with the whole cocoa bean, which has a lot of cocoa butter, a lot of fat. So it's not like the chocolate drink that we drink nowadays that's made with cocoa powder.
Now that you mentioned the cocoa beans, I know that you love transforming cocoa beans into bars and paint with chocolate. Can you tell us a few things about that? How is painting with chocolate?
Well, painting with chocolate is a lot like painting. It's a bit in between painting with oil and, I don't know if you heard of encaustic painting. It's with beeswax. So it has a lot of that because the chocolate needs to be warm when you paint with it. Otherwise it will not be a fluid. And then it's basically like any other paint, only you have one color, so you have to make all the shades just with the white of the background and the dark of the chocolate.
It sounds simple, but I suppose it's not. However, interesting, really. Honestly, yeah.
It's but there's more and more people doing it lately, and they're having great results as well. There's also like there I don't know if you know, but there you have coffee painters as well, and it's on water. It's water based, so they dilute the coffee. It's a bit of a similar effect.
Taking advantage of every material and product in order to create, I suppose. Mm-hmm.
The only difference with chocolate is that it needs to be tempered. So if you don't get the tempering right, which is the crystallization of the cocoa butter that you control with the temperature, then you get a white bloom. So as a painter, you can make use of that for special effects, but you have to know to control it, and that's quite tricky.
Yeah, and a sensitive issue, I suppose. Now, going back to the Museum of Chocolate, what is the educational value of the Chocolate Museum? I mean, what can people learn by visiting the museum? What is the mission of it?
The mission of the museum, first of all, is to teach people about chocolate history in the UK and to represent the UK chocolate industry, but also to give accurate information about chocolate history worldwide, the whole ancient chocolate history, of course, of the Mayans and the Aztecs. Of course, to give insight in the making process of how chocolate is made, very important. But we also want to show people how to taste chocolate and how to really enjoy chocolate with all the senses.
I hope visitors can not only taste but also buy chocolate items or products from the museum.
Yes, we sell a whole range of ethically sourced bean-to-bar chocolates from UK makers. So there's a lot of fantastic chocolate makers, independent chocolate makers in the UK who work with cocoa beans from different origins. And there's really a lot to discover in those kinds of chocolates. We also sell a interactive tasting experience, Chocotail, and it's an augmented reality experience on the Gamma app that takes you through the whole museum with a set of chocolate tasters. So you kind of see all the objects in the museum, learn about chocolate history, and then as you go along you taste all the different chocolates with it.
So there are also workshops and some, let's say, courses that take place in the museum. Interactive educational courses and workshops. Yeah,
so we have courses. We have a school program for schools where school children learn about chocolate history, they learn how to taste chocolate. There's one variant where they make chocolate truffles. And then we have another, some Mayan chocolate making course where they make their own chocolate slab from ground cocoa beans. And we have workshops for adults as well, like the melange workshop, which is like a 3-hour truffle making workshop where they also learn how to taste chocolate, they learn about chocolate production. We do online tastings now as well because of the corona situation. I mean, the ideal thing with chocolate is always to be there in person and to do it live, but unfortunately we don't have this option now, so we offer online tastings and courses as well.
As you mentioned the adults, it's something that I would like to ask you about this issue. It is often said that chocolate and the chocolate museums in general are mostly for kids and children who are mostly keen on chocolate. However, we see and we experience adults be very keen on chocolate and maybe curious to find out more. It's not only kids who have to do with chocolate.
No, certainly not. I mean, I always say it's a bit of a misconception that chocolate is still perceived widely as a sweet treat for children, which it is not, because I personally compare chocolate to wine or specialty coffee, because as I said before, quality chocolate is really a product that requires a large process of making, and there's so many steps involved that can determine the flavor, and really good craft chocolate has so many flavors, and it's even a skill to be able to taste them all. So you can imagine there's so much to discover there for adults. I mean, most adults don't know about the history, they don't know about how it is made, so that already blows their mind. But then also to discover that with 3 different bars of dark chocolate, you can have such a different flavor experience according to the variety of cacao, according to the fermentation process, according to how the chocolate maker has made it, that I think there's a lot for adults there.
Another misconception that I think is in the air is that chocolate is harmful. Consuming chocolate is harmful for our health. However, it's said that it's beneficial not only for our mental but also for our emotional health and our psychology, of course. What's your opinion on consuming chocolate?
Well, it all depends on what kind of chocolate you consume. So if it's a chocolate made from beans that have been grown in a biodiverse setting, if they're ethically sourced, if they're processed the right way and not heated too much and not over roasted and all these things, and there's not a awful amount of sugar in the chocolate in the end, and there's no added fats like palm oil or shea butter or other trans fats that don't belong in there, then chocolate can be very healthy, because cocoa beans in themselves are very healthy. They have a lot of beneficial compounds to us. So they have theobromine, which is a bit like caffeine, but that's the the compound that makes us feel happy and like we're a little bit in love. They have a little bit of caffeine as well, but they don't give us this peak that coffee gives it, because it's released a lot slower in the bloodstream. And then they have several minerals and vitamins. So there's so many good things about chocolate. Then there's the taste that also makes us, happy. But I always say, if you eat a good quality chocolate, you will also be satisfied with a lot less than if you eat a bad quality chocolate that's mostly sugar and bad fats. Doesn't give you any health benefits, but you will eat a lot of it, because in the end you're more eating sugar than anything else,
So it has to do with the amount and the quality as well. It's a combination, I suppose.
It really depends on the quality of the chocolate, which is very important. But if you eat a good quality dark chocolate, it's actually good for your health. Good quality milk chocolate is also fine. I mean, we all have our preferences, and even white chocolate, it's all about the quality.
Exactly. Even I suppose that most people prefer milk chocolate. However, dark seems to have more benefits, if we could say that.
Yes. Because there's a higher concentration of cocoa in dark chocolate, so all the health benefits are in the cocoa. So of course you get more out of dark chocolate. But there's good quality milk chocolates around as well that have like as high percentage as 50 or 60% cocoa in them. And if it's made with organic milk powder and not too much sugar, you can have a relatively healthy milk chocolate as well. And nowadays they make milk chocolate with coconut milk as well, and other vegan milk, so there's really a lot to choose from.
So let me ask you, what is chocolate for you? If you could describe it using 2 or 3 words, which words would this be?
Love. Chocolate is, they say it's the food of the heart. And yes, I think chocolate and cacao are just love and magic are the 2 words that come to me the first.
Yes, and I would also add pleasure in many ways, or passion for others. And
yes, I say love because if cacao is cultivated the right way, it brings a lot of love not only to the consumers but also to the planet, because sustainable cacao growing helps keep the biodiversity in the rainforest intact. It's good for the growers. It brings pleasure to everybody, basically, to the animals that live in the forest, to the cocoa farmers, to the makers, to the consumers.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. So I agree with every single word you said. Now, let me ask you, today, due to the COVID pandemic, things are quite difficult and access, I suppose, to the museum is not permitted. However, when is it available for the public under normal circumstances and conditions?
Under normal circumstances, the museum is open from Wednesday to Sunday. So on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're open in the afternoons because in the mornings we have usually our school program. So that's from 1 till 7 on weekdays, and then Saturday and Sunday we're open from between 11 and 6. And
finally, where can people find you now? Online, I mean.
Yes, so it's thechocolatemuseum.co.uk, and there you can see all our online activities that we offer. We have some free resources as well, like the A to Z History Challenge, where people can engage and children can engage and learn about chocolate history. We offer online tastings and online school program. And of course the Chocotail, the interactive tasting experience, you can also do from home, so you can buy the box from our website and then do it from the comfort of your home.
That's perfect, good to hear and to know. Well, I wish we could say more, but time is limited, so I would like to thank you for being here with us today. It has been a pleasure and honor, and thank you for sharing with us your knowledge and your love about chocolate and all this useful information about the Chocolate Museum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us, and it's been really a pleasure from my side as well.
Thank you, Lora.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the day.